The air inside Oak Haven Grocers was thick with that late afternoon heaviness, a mix of warm air and cold tile floors as people rushed to get home for dinner. Kirby wasn't officially on the clock. No calls had come in. He was just stopping for a six-pack. But the uniform he wore was a constant source of power. In his mind, it meant he was never truly off duty. As he passed the warm, sweet smell of the bakery, his eyes locked on a figure standing near the refrigerated cases. A man. Tall, maybe early 40s, with the athletic build of someone who handled himself well. He wore a dark windbreaker zipped halfway, and his attention wasn't on the groceries. He wasn't pushing a cart or holding a basket. He was just watching. His gaze swept across a few shoppers. A glance here, a slight turn of the head there. Then his eyes met Kirby's, just a flicker. An instant of contact before he turned his attention back to the rows of yogurt. That was all Kirby needed. A lesser man might look away. A guilty man might fidget. This guy's calm felt like a challenge. Kirby adjusted his path, making a direct line for the man. He let his chest puff out slightly, his footsteps deliberately heavy on the linoleum. He invaded the man's personal space, stopping a little too close, right by the butter, making his presence an unavoidable fact. "Are you with store security?" Kirby asked, his tone already loaded with suspicion, skipping any pretense of a friendly inquiry. The man looked up from his phone. His expression was placid, unbothered. He wasn't irritated. He wasn't smug. He was simply assessing the new variable that had just entered his equation. "No," he replied, his voice even and deep. Kirby's jaw tightened. He hated that tone. Too short, too sure of himself. Thinks he's tough. "You've been watching people for a little too long to just be shopping," Kirby pressed. "You planning to pay for anything? Or are you just casing the joint?" The man raised a single eyebrow, not in defiance but with a hint of something like confusion. He slipped his phone into his back pocket. "Sir, I'm in the middle of something," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "You're interfering." "Interfering with what?" Kirby shot back, enjoying the way his voice cut through the low hum of the store. A few heads turned their way. "You're not law enforcement. I don't see a badge. You're not staff. And I don't like being lied to." His voice wasn't a shout, but it had a sharp, authoritative edge designed to command attention. The woman stacking apples near the entrance slowed her movements. A manager behind the customer service counter took a half step forward, watching cautiously. The man kept his hands visible. That infuriating calm never wavered. "My name is Julian Croft," the man stated clearly. "Special Agent, FBI. My badge is in my back pocket. I'm not here to talk to you." Kirby felt a flash of hot satisfaction. Jackpot. He let out a disbelieving laugh. "Let me see the badge," he commanded, standing even taller now, his hand drifting toward his own belt in a practiced, casual motion. Croft moved with a deliberate, almost insulting slowness. No sudden gestures. He reached into his back pocket, pulled out a leather badge holder, and flipped it open. Kirby gave the credentials inside a cursory, dismissive glance before waving it off. "Anybody can buy a fake badge online, pal," Kirby said with a sneer. "You really think you're the first guy who's tried that?" Croft's eyes locked onto his. The calm was still there, but now it carried a dangerous weight. "You need to back up," Croft said, his voice dropping slightly. "You are interfering with a federal surveillance operation. You're about to blow a case we've been building for 6 months." Kirby scoffed. "Then you should have let local law enforcement know you'd have a suspicious individual lurking in the yogurt aisle. That's on you." He could feel the eyes on him now. A woman across the aisle was holding her phone up, angled slightly toward them. Recording. "I don't owe you notification," Croft replied, his tone like ice. "This is a federal jurisdiction. Now step back." The public challenge, the unwavering confidence from Croft, it lit a fuse in Kirby. He felt the stares of the other shoppers like a physical weight. They weren't just watching a cop do his job, they were watching a confrontation. And Kirby knew, deep down, that he wasn't winning. So he doubled down, as he always did. "If you don't have someone I can call to verify, I'm detaining you. Right here. Right now." But just as the tension was about to snap, someone else entered the aisle. A woman shorter than Croft, with sharp eyes and her hair pulled back in a tight, professional twist. She was dressed in plain clothes that drew no attention, but her presence hit like a bucket of cold water. Agent Eva Rios didn't say a word at first. She simply stepped between Kirby and Croft, with the fluid ease of someone accustomed to far more dangerous environments. Kirby blinked, momentarily thrown. Where did she come from? Rios's tone was quiet but surgical. Officer, you're interfering with a federal operation. You need to take 3 steps back. Now, she held up her badge folder, leaving it open at chest level. Special Agent Rios, I'm Agent Croft's partner. You've compromised our surveillance. Kirby let out a short, unnatural laugh. 2 of you? Claiming to be FBI, no coordination with local PD, no visible suspect. You expect me to believe you're both just grocery shopping for justice? No, officer, Rios said, her eyes boring into him. We expect you to exercise basic protocol and professionalism. Or is that asking too much? The sting of her words was sharp. He ignored it and pointed a thumb at Croft. He was just standing there watching folks. No cart, no list. Looked like he was casing the place. Rios shot back without a moment's hesitation. You profile all black men who buy yogurt? That landed. Hard. A teenager filming from behind a soda display snorted with laughter. Kirby's head turned slightly, noticing for the first time the quiet wall of phones now raised in his direction. People weren't just glancing anymore. They were stopped, watching, recording. We're tracking a seller in an interstate arms trafficking ring, Rios said, her voice dropping, filled with cold fury. He was supposed to meet his contact right here. Now, thanks to you, he's probably long gone. The heat crawled up Kirby's neck. He wasn't used to being corrected in public, especially not like this. From behind him, a man muttered just loud enough for everyone to hear. He just couldn't stand seeing a confident brother standing still. Kirby spun around, trying to pinpoint the source of the comment, but nobody met his gaze. The crowd had already passed its judgment. He turned back to Croft and Rios, his jaw locked tight. I want names, full names and badge numbers. I'll be filing a report. You're welcome to, Croft replied, his expression still unreadable. We'll be doing the same. It'll be a very detailed report. Kirby took an involuntary step back, the reality of the situation finally crashing through his arrogant bravado. The suspect was gone. The case was blown, and he was the reason why. Officer Kirby took a half step back, just enough to seem like he was giving them space, but his hand rested on his duty belt. His pride, badly bruised, clung to the last vestiges of his authority. Let's be real, he said, trying to regain his footing. You two show up in street clothes, no heads up to local PD, and you expect me to just roll out the red carpet? I'm the problem here? That's a joke. It was Agent Croft who answered, his voice devoid of heat. You became the problem when you chose to assume instead of ask. You didn't approach with curiosity, officer. You came in hot, looking for a fight. Oh, please, Kirby scoffed, rolling his eyes. Don't make this personal. I don't think it's personal at all, Croft replied, his words cutting through the officer's bluster. I think it's about how you operate. You saw a man you didn't like the look of, and you decided to make a scene. There was no crime, no complaint, just your gut, and your gut was wrong. That's called policing, Kirby snapped. No, Agent Rios interjected, her arms crossed. That's called interference fueled by ego, and right now, it's a federal offense. The shoppers, still lingering nearby, fell silent, their feigned interest in groceries forgotten. The air was thick with Kirby's public humiliation. He pulled out his notepad, a desperate attempt to reclaim some control. Name again, he demanded, looking at Croft. Special Agent Julian Croft, Edgewater Field Office. You'll want my supervisor's name, too. That's Deputy Director Hayes. Kirby scribbled, not looking up. And you? Special Agent Eva Rios, she said coolly. You might want to spell our names correctly in your report. The official inquiry will be looking for accuracy. Her mention of an inquiry made Kirby's head snap up. You threatening me now? No, Rios said, her gaze flicking to the half-dozen phones still subtly pointed in their direction. But you made a choice in front of a lot of witnesses. Phone cameras don't lie. Croft stepped forward slightly. We were tracking an arms dealer, officer, a man named Marco Vicente. He's been moving untraceable, modified rifles across 3 states. Today we had him. We were 5 minutes from making the bust. Kirby opened his mouth, then closed it. The fight drained out of him, replaced by a dawning, sickening horror. His hand fell from his belt. We kept this quiet because that's how you catch a ghost like Vicente, Croft continued, his voice low and intense. When you barge in, escalate, and treat everyone like a suspect. You don't just embarrass yourself. You put military-grade weapons back on the street. From the back of the store, a young man holding a box of cereal muttered to his friend, loud enough to be heard, "Dude got schooled right in front of the cheese." A soft laugh followed, cutting through the silence. Kirby's ears burned. His posture sagged. "I'm done here," he said stiffly, turning on his heel and walking toward the automatic doors without another word. As he retreated, Rios spoke into her earpiece. "Control, this is Delta 6. Surveillance is compromised. Subject is in the wind." A voice crackled back, tinny and distant. "Copy Delta 6. Visual confirms subject exited north entrance. Vehicle is gone." Rios swore under her breath. Croft's jaw was a knot of steel. Months of work. Hundreds of man-hours. Gone in 30 seconds because a beat cop had a chip on his shoulder. "I want a call with Hayes," Croft said, his voice tight with controlled rage. "Today, this isn't getting swept under the rug." "She's expecting it," Rios confirmed. Just then, a young woman in a store security polo shirt approached them hesitantly, holding a small USB drive. "Agents, I'm Jenna from security. I've been watching the live feed. Your suspect, he was at Register 9. He bolted the second the officer started yelling. I pulled the footage for you." Rios took the drive, a flicker of gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you, Jenna. That's very helpful." As the security guard scurried away, Rios gave Croft a look. "See? Some people actually know how to do their jobs." They walked in silence toward the exit, the weight of the blown operation hanging between them. Pushing through the doors into the fading daylight, they made their way to their unmarked Chevy Tahoe. Inside the quiet, tinted interior, Croft finally broke the silence, staring at the storefront. "I could see it on his face the second he approached," he murmured, more to himself than to Rios. He didn't come over to ask a question. He came over to confirm what he already believed. The silence in the unmarked Chevy Tahoe was heavy with the metallic taste of failure. On the tablet screen between them, Rios had the security footage paused on a ghost. The target, Marco Vicente, head down in a hoodie, was already moving toward the exit before the confrontation in the dairy aisle had even truly begun. "Look at the timestamp," Rios said, her voice flat. "Vicente clocked the uniform the second Kirby walked through the doors. Didn't even look at us. He saw a cop on a power trip, knew the spot was hot, and was out the door before Kirby even finished his first question." Croft's jaw tightened. 6 months of work, hundreds of hours tracking a slippery arms trafficker across 3 states, all leading to this one. Perfect trap, all dismantled in under a minute by one officer's bad instinct. "The kicker is," Croft said, his voice a low growl, "Kirby won't even remember the target's face. He was so locked on me, the actual threat became invisible." The dashboard chimed, and the professional voice of their deputy director, Hayes, filled the car. She was sharp and to the point. "Report. The target is gone," Rios confirmed. "Compromised by local law enforcement. The officer was confrontational and escalated the situation without cause." "Name?" Hayes' voice was cold steel. "Officer Dean Kirby. We have his badge number and footage of the entire incident." "Good," Hayes said. "I'm calling the Edgewater County Sheriff tonight. My office will handle it from here. You two, head back to base." The line clicked off. No condolences. None were needed. A heavy silence fell again, broken only by Croft. "Let me ask you something, Rios," he said, his eyes fixed on the storefront, but seeing something else entirely. "You think if I were some white guy in a polo shirt, he still would have stopped me?" Rios paused, choosing her words carefully. "I think," she said, her voice firm, "that he wasn't looking for a crime. He was looking for a reason to start a problem, and he decided you were it." "I'm tired of handling it," Croft admitted, the words raw with an exhaustion that went deeper than this one case. As if summoned by the conversation, they saw him, Officer Kirby, walking back toward their vehicle. His swagger was gone, replaced by a slow, hesitant shamble. He stopped a few feet away, his eyes avoiding theirs. "Look," he started, his voice weak. I didn't know. I've been on the force 7 years. I make calls based on what I see." He was cut off as a Black County Sheriff's SUV, its lights off, rolled silently into the lot and parked directly behind them. A man in a crisp uniform with captain's bars on his collar stepped out, his face a mask of pure fury. "Kirby," the captain barked, the sound cracking through the quiet parking lot like a whip. Kirby flinched as if he'd been struck, all the color draining from his face. The captain strode past the federal agents as if they were invisible and stopped inches from his subordinate. "I just got off the phone with a deputy director at the FBI," he seethed, his voice low and trembling with rage. "She informs me that one of my officers just single-handedly burned a 6-month, multi-state federal arms trafficking investigation. Tell me that wasn't you." Kirby's mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no sound came out. He could only manage a choked, pathetic nod. "Unbuckle your duty belt," the captain commanded. "Place it on the hood of my car. Now." A wave of pure, uncut humiliation washed over Kirby's face. Under the unflinching gaze of the 2 agents he had harassed, he fumbled with the buckle, unfastened the belt holding his holstered pistol, and laid it on the hood of the cruiser like a defeated soldier surrendering his sword. "You are on administrative leave, effective immediately," the captain stated, his voice dripping with contempt. "You will go home and wait while my office, in consultation with the U.S. Attorney, decides if you have a future in law enforcement or if you're facing felony charges for obstructing a federal investigation. Am I understood?" "Yes, sir," Kirby whispered, his voice, his authority, and his career utterly broken.